My fiancé ranked third in the imperial examinations and was chosen by the princess as her consort. I never believed he'd climb the social ladder through marriage. Yet I was proven wrong. The Wang family's insolent servant delivered the annulment notice, mocking me as a toad dreaming of swan's flesh, as if I were worthy. I stroked the long scar on my temple, glaring at the despicable face across from me, my heart boiling with indignation. So I rode into the capital that very night, seeking out Wang Shian, who was drinking and carousing at the flower-pinning banquet. His face drained of color, and he immediately tried to send men to drive me away. But the princess, who had arrived late, saw me and exclaimed excitedly, "Your auntie?" When I reached the Jade Forest Garden, the banquet inside was in full swing. The sounds of silk and bamboo instruments drifted gently into my ears. Though pleasant, they only made me more irritable. Following the path etched in my memory, I scaled the low wall outside the garden and slipped inside, passing through 3 bridges and 5 corridors. I reached the main courtyard dotted with pavilions and waterfront pavilions. Standing beneath the ornate gate, I spotted Wang Shian from afar, toasting and clinking cups at the banquet. Naturally handsome, he wore a splendid crimson robe today, radiating brilliance. I instinctively adjusted the square cap on my head. I'm not one to cling desperately, but I believe in seeing things through to the end. Regardless, I needed to speak with him face to face to settle this once and for all. But just as I was about to step inside, someone suddenly blocked my path. Well, what a delicate-looking young man we have here. Gazing at the slightly tipsy man before me, a wave of disgust washed over me. What I detest most in life are frivolous, idle playboys. Clearly, the man before me was one such. Unwilling to speak with him, I turned to leave. Seeing my refusal, he grew irritated, immediately chasing after me and grabbing my wrist, refusing to let go. After days of travel, I'd been bottling up resentment with nowhere to vent it. In a fit of heat, I lashed out. By the time I realized what I'd done, I'd already kicked him into the pond. The loud splash drew everyone's attention. Amidst the stunned gazes, I locked eyes with the most shocked pair of them all. Wang Shian stared at me in utter disbelief, his shock tinged with irritation. This scene made me look like a quarrelsome shrew who'd come to cause trouble. Seeing I'd already stirred up a commotion, I decided to stop hiding my intentions. I shouted directly at Wang Shian. The lady of the house and the third-place scholar are old acquaintances. She sent me today to inquire about a matter. Her beloved little dog was lured away by a neighbor with a meat bun. She fears the poor thing is homesick and lost, and wonders if she should go and retrieve it. Most guests at the banquet were refined scholars, whose every word and deed emphasized elegance. Seeing my behavior, especially dressed as a servant, some disapproving figures stood up and shouted, "Which household servant are you? Behaving so improperly? Guards! Come! Hold on! Brother Xiao!" Wang Shian interrupted. "If someone seeks my guidance, even if they're a beggar on the street, I should answer honestly. How could I turn them away just because of their status? We studied together for years. Becoming officials was meant to serve the people, wasn't it?" At these words, the crowd's gaze toward Wang Shian deepened with admiration. I, too, was momentarily stunned. How had I never noticed his gift for eloquent argument before? Moments later, surrounded by the crowd, he approached me and replied softly, "Please convey to your master that one should never force matters. People naturally seek higher ground, and this young dog is no exception. Since he has found a better path, your master should let him go. If you hinder his future, beware of his bite. The pain and loss would be far greater than any gain." Wang Shian was smiling, yet I saw a threat in his eyes. Power and money have always been the greatest temptations to the human heart. I had thought he might be different. But I was mistaken. I had hoped for an amicable parting. But now that seems impossible. Years of affection can be fed to the dogs. But not the silver I spent on him. So I offered a faint smile. The master is a reasonable man. But raising this pup took considerable effort. Surely he should repay the kindness with 100 taels of silver? Then we'd be even. No debts owed. What do you say? Third place scholar? Before Wang Shian could respond, those beside him burst into laughter. Absurd! Did this little dog grow up eating gold? Summon your master, I'd like to see what sort of young master he is. The roaring laughter echoed. Everyone treating this as a joke. Only Wang Shian's face turned ashen. He knew exactly what I meant. Born into a declining aristocratic family, he'd spent his scholarly years oblivious to the outside world. His food, clothing, and living expenses all came from my business ventures. He had no spare silver to offer. The only thing of value was the ancestral home in Jiangnan, nestled by mountains and rivers. Worth 100 taels. I've grown quite fond of that house. What do you think? Third place scholar? I ignored the other man and turned to Wang Shian, repeating my question. His hands, hanging limply at his sides, clenched tightly. Gritting his teeth, he replied, Your master speaks wisely. Years of kindness, 100 taels, is fitting. With the third place scholar's words, my master could finally rest easy. Yet the capital splendor and the long road to officialdom, I pray the third place scholar guards his true heart and never forgets his original aspirations. The matter should have ended there. Though not perfect, I could have found peace. Men? If one won't do, there are thousands more. Why dwell on it? Afterward, I'd slip back to my Jiangnan home, drifting on lakes in a boat, living a life of simple joy. But fate had other plans, refusing to let me depart. As I spoke, someone suddenly lunged at me from behind. Though I steadied myself just in time, my square hat tumbled to the ground. My jet-black hair spilled down in a cascade. I had no time to think, only to cover the long scar across my forehead, but it was too late. Someone had already seen it. The surrounding whispers erupted instantly. That's a woman. Judging by her behavior, she must be chasing after the third-place scholar's romantic debts. Impossible. Didn't you see the scar on her face? Horrifying. Any man would reject her. TSK, TSK, TSK. I saw it too. I'll probably have nightmares tonight. My heart sank deeper with every mocking whisper. Until a clear, delicate female voice cut through the chaos. This banquet is quite lively. What are you all discussing? At her words, everyone turned, bowing low, Your Highness. May you enjoy eternal health and prosperity. Only I remained frozen in place. Just then, a servant beside her barked harshly, How dare you? You're in the presence of the princess. Pay your respects at once. Aunt Fong, you don't have to be so stern, she said softly. Don't be afraid. Turn around. Let me see you. By now, tears welled in my eyes. She looked. She really looked. In my memory, my sister-in-law had spoken with just such a soft, gentle voice. I steadied myself before slowly turning around to bow in reverence like the others. When I left the capital, she had just turned 9. 6 years had passed, and I assumed she had long forgotten my face. Yet there she stood, gazing at me with sudden excitement. Your little auntie? Her words struck like thunder in the clear sky, sending ripples through the crowd. All knew the current emperor had a young sister, the late emperor's most cherished daughter, Princess Xiao, Xiao. But since the prince in rebellion, no one had seen her. Some claimed she was gravely ill, confined to the palace, while others whispered she had long since passed away. Yet no rumor could ever link Princess Xiao to the person standing before them now. Wang Shian found it utterly unbelievable. He strode directly to the princess, took her hand, and spoke with unnatural intimacy. "Qingyao, you must be mistaken. She can't possibly be Princess Huayang." In full view of everyone, he addressed the princess by her given name, utterly unconcerned with others' gazes, instead relishing this sense of superiority. Only when Aunt Fong cleared her throat disapprovingly did he rein in his behavior. Watching the innocent and naive Qingyao, my memory suddenly flashed back to the night my sister-in-law passed away. She had clasped my hand and entrusted me, "Your imperial brother is, after all, a man. He lacks your discernment. Should Qingyao ever find someone she loves, I implore you to observe him closely. I do not seek great wealth or status for her. I only wish for a man who treats Qingyao with genuine sincerity, sparing her the pain of love." Now, looking at Wang Shian, if he truly loved Qingyao, I wouldn't say another word. But I know what it means to truly love someone. We can't both fall victim to the same man. These years of leisure in Jiangnan have been enough. It's time to return. So I adjusted my posture and spoke slowly. "Yao Yao, come to your auntie." At my words, Qingyao threw herself into my arms without hesitation, her voice trembling with tears. "Auntie, it really is you. I knew I wouldn't be mistaken. Yao Yao missed you so much. Father Emperor said you went far away to recuperate and forbade me from disturbing you. Are you all better now?" My heart warmed. I gently patted her hand and said softly, "Yes. I'm all better now. Our Yao Yao has grown into a young lady now, so beautiful auntie almost didn't recognize her." Our unabashed affection plunged the entire Qianglin garden into an eerie silence. Those who had just mocked my appearance and speculated about my identity now looked as pale as death. Wang Shian beside us stared wide-eyed in terror, muttering, "Impossible. You're just a merchant's wife from Jiangnan. How could you be a princess?" I ignored him, glancing only at Aunt Fong behind me. As a veteran of the palace, she quickly regained her composure. She stepped forward briskly, performing a formal bow with perfect precision, her voice trembling with emotion. "Your humble servant greets Princess Huayang. Long live your highness. Heaven be praised that your highness is in good health, truly a blessing for our great Liang dynasty." Her bow sent ripples through the crowd like a stone tossed into a still lake, startling everyone awake. The entire garden, freshly appointed scholars, high officials, and their attendants, crashed to their knees in unison, shouting, "We pay our respects to Princess Huayang. Long live your highness. Long live. Long live." The deafening chorus echoed across the skies of the Jade Forest garden. I raised my hand slightly, yet my gaze swept past the crowd, settling on Wang Shian, who stood isolated in the center. He froze in place, his face ashen. His glaring crimson robe now looked particularly ridiculous. "Why does the third-place scholar not kneel?" My voice was not loud, yet it carried an undeniable authority. Hearing this, the crowd also turned their astonished gazes toward him. Wang Xian's face instantly turned from white to green, his lips trembling as if someone had seized his throat. After a long moment, he managed to stammer, You're. Just moments ago, he was eloquent, declaring that even a beggar on the street should speak without reservation. I raised an eyebrow. Now, in my presence, how could he forget even the most basic etiquette of paying respects? The words struck him like a resounding slap, sending his body swaying. Finally, he collapsed to his knees with a thud, his voice trembling, Your Highness, Princess." Wang Shian pays his respects. Watching his figure prostrate on the ground, I suddenly felt a sense of emptiness. All these years together, only to end in such a pitifully fragile conclusion. "Rise." I spoke indifferently, no longer looking at him, instead taking Qingyao's hand. "Yao Yao, Accompany your aunt to see your father, the emperor. Qingyao hooked her arm through mine, nodding obediently. Passing by Wang Shian, I didn't pause my steps, leaving only one sentence. Oh, and deliver what I requested to the princess's residence within 3 days. 1 hour late, and I'll hold you personally accountable. As we exited the Jade Forest Garden, the sunset was at its peak. Qingyao chattered away in my ear about amusing incidents from these past years, while I gazed at the brilliant evening glow on the horizon. Suddenly, I realized, returning to the capital actually felt rather pleasant. At the very least, the feeling of putting a scumbag in his place was quite satisfying. Inside the carriage, I took Qingyao's hand and asked earnestly, Yao Yao, what's the story between you and Wang Shian? Do you truly like him? Qingyao lowered her head at my words, her cheeks flushing slightly. He's eloquent and handsome. When he wore floral hairpins and walked the streets, I thought he was the most beautiful. Just as I suspected. What she loved was merely a perfect illusion painted by palaces and towers. Not Wang Shian himself. A plan immediately formed in my mind. Soon, the carriage halted before the imperial city gates. I lifted the soft curtain, gazing at the towering palace gates, familiar yet strange. 6 years after the Prince in Rebellion, I left the palace and journeyed far to Jiangnan. Everyone said Princess Huayang was gravely ill and needed quiet recuperation. But none knew it was an understanding between my imperial brother and me. He needed eyes distant from the court, while I needed a place to heal my wounds. Within the hall of cultivating the heart, the emperor sat bent over his desk, reviewing memorials, hearing footsteps. He didn't lift his head. Qingyao, where have you been playing again? Your Majesty. At that single word, the vermilion brush in the ruler's hand halted abruptly. When he lifted his head, a hint of moisture flickered in those usually deep, unfathomable eyes. Huayang. He rose swiftly, pacing toward me as he studied my face. You're back? Why didn't you say anything? Are you fully recovered? Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. I'm well now. I offered a faint smile, letting him guide me to a seat. Qingyao sat beside us, chattering away about today's events in the Jade Forest Garden. When Wang Shian was mentioned, my brother's brow furrowed slightly. Yet he patiently said, the imperial kitchen prepared white jade pastries today. Your aunt adored this dessert in her time. Would Qingyao care to fetch some? After she left, he turned to me. You must have noticed Qingyao's feelings. She is indeed of marriageable age now. But what do you think of Wang Shian? To be honest, I replied frankly, this man and I are old acquaintances. Oh, is that so? My brother's gaze held a hint of curiosity. I continued, he is truly no suitable match. But there's no rush. Qingyao is still young, it's good for her to see more options. My brother didn't press further, merely nodding before sighing. These years have been hard on you. His eyes fell upon the long scar on my forehead. That scar was left 6 years ago during the Prince in Rebellion, when the rebels stormed the palace. Amidst the chaos, an assassin disguised as an eunuch lunged at Your Majesty from behind with a dagger. I stood beside him and, without a second thought, threw myself forward to push him out of the way. The blade sliced across my temple, cutting deep enough to expose bone. The imperial physician said had it been an inch further, I would not have survived. Were it not for this scar of yours? His Majesty's voice carried a note of guilt. I fear I might have. Your Majesty. I interrupted, feigning lightness. This scar is this humble sister's badge of honor. It's quite lovely. At these words, he finally revealed his first genuine smile of the day. Since you've returned, stay in the palace. Your Changchun palace, I've had it kept tidy all this time. Thank you, Your Majesty. I rose to curtsy. However, I wish to stay at the princess's residence first. It's been years since I last saw Qingyao. I want to talk with her more. My brother pondered briefly before understanding my intent. Very well. Your late sister-in-law was closest to you in life. She would be pleased to know how well you treat Qingyao. Should you need anything, simply inform the imperial household department. He paused, then added, "Oh, and now that you're back, you shall formally take charge of the Ministry of Revenue." Startled, I was about to refuse when my brother-in-law casually remarked, "During your years in Jiangnan, you cultivated merchants, revived crafts, and opened salt routes. Not only did you cover the deficits from the prince and rebellion, but you tripled the annual revenue of the imperial treasury. Last year, when the northern front was strained and supplies were tight, it was your covert procurement of silver that resolved the urgent needs of the Prince of Jinbei's heir, averting the potential catastrophe of military shortages in the north. Among all the ministers in court, none surpass you in the art of generating wealth. Though you insisted on recuperating in Jiangnan, you never forgot your duties. You hold the state and its soldiers in your heart. Entrusting this family to your care brings me profound peace of mind." Hearing his words, I found no reason to refuse further. I stepped before my brother, performing the formal kneeling and bowing ritual between sovereign and subject with unwavering resolve. "Your humble sister acknowledges the decree." As I departed the hall of mental cultivation, the setting sun bathed the palace walls in golden hues. Aunt Fong whispered a report, "Your Highness, Wang Shian, is waiting outside the palace gates. He says he has something to discuss with you." My pace did not falter. "Tell him this princess is weary. Remind him of the 3-day deadline. Some people aren't worth wasting words on. Dealing with scoundrels demands swiftness, nurturing a niece requires patient guidance. Time will tell." The next day, after breakfast, I took Qingyao out of the mansion. The carriage headed straight for the Western Market, the capital's most bustling district, a melting pot of all walks of life. The very essence of earthly existence. "Auntie, why have we come here?" Qingyao gazed out the carriage window at the bustling crowd. Her curiosity mingled with a touch of reserve. Raised in the secluded palace since childhood, she had only ever seen palaces of jade and marble, bound by rigid rules and order. Such vibrant, even crass, scenes of the common folk were entirely new to her. "Today, Auntie wants to show you something different." I took her arm as we stepped from the carriage, pointing to a woman arguing fiercely with a vegetable vendor over a few coins. I said, "Look at her, haggling over every penny to support her family. This is the daily life of ordinary people." We walked on, passing a school where the sound of students reading aloud drifted out. I paused and said to Qingyao, "These scholars from humble backgrounds toil for 10 years, seeking nothing more than a new beginning to alter their fate. Their essays may be splendid, but their true character is revealed only when faced with money, power, and temptation." Qingyao nodded, seeming to understand yet not fully grasping. Just as I was about to say more, an untimely figure abruptly entered our view. Wang Shian. He had clearly been searching for us. Still clad in his official robes, his face bearing the exhaustion and anxiety of a sleepless night, he strode swiftly toward us, ignoring the curious stares around him, and suddenly knelt with a thud upon the street's blue stone slabs. "Your Highness, this servant knows he has erred. Yesterday in the Jade Forest Garden, I was blinded by my own stupidity, failing to recognize the precious jade set in gold, and thus offended your Highness's noble countenance. I beg your Highness, for the sake of our past bond, to grant me one more chance." His words were earnest, his voice choked with tears, drawing the stares of passers-by. Qingyao was startled by his sudden display and instinctively drew closer behind me. Watching his performance, I felt only bitter irony. Yesterday, he was the lofty third-place scholar. Today, He would kneel in the street without regard for his dignity. What he sought was nothing more than the power he so desperately craved. "What is this? Third-place scholar?" My tone was distant, tinged with an almost imperceptible chill. "Do you not fear this palace charging you with the crime of insolence? Moreover, the past ties you speak of, were they not settled yesterday? Money exchanged. Debt settled, those were your own words." "Your Highness." He snapped his head up, his eyes brimming with undisguised panic and resentment. "Yesterday. This servant was foolish. This servant owes your Highness. Owes the princess." His gaze darted to Qing Yao behind me, his words attempting to placate both sides. A futile attempt to play both ends. I couldn't be bothered with his excuses. Impatiently, I retorted. "When did the Hanlin Academy become so idle that a third-place scholar like Wang has time to cause trouble here? Upon my return, I shall question the chief scholar about whether there's been a failure in personnel selection." With that, I signaled my attendants to escort him away. The guards obeyed without hesitation, stepping forward to usher Wang Shian out. He struggled to speak further, but the guards held him firmly. He could only watch helplessly as Qing Yao and I turned and walked away. "Auntie," Qing Yao whispered after we'd walked some distance, her voice tinged with confusion and a barely perceptible hint of disappointment. He seemed so different just now. Not like the man who used to stroll through the streets with flowers in his hair. A quiet satisfaction stirred within me. Wang Xian's outburst proved more effective than any 100 words of reason I could have offered Qing Yao. I clasped her hand tightly and spoke softly. "Yao Yao. One must not judge a person solely by their triumphant moments. What matters more is how they conduct themselves in adversity. How they choose between gain and loss. That you could discern his difference today is excellent." I instructed the guards to escort Qing Yao back to the princess's residence, while I took a detour outside the city. My spirits were high today, perfect for visiting friends and relatives. Within the imperial garrison, battle cries shook the heavens and dust swirled thickly. It was a world apart from the romantic retreats like the Jade Forest Garden. I changed into plain attire, showed the jade token given by that person to the guards, and entered the main tent directly. At the center of the tent stood a sand table. Mountains, rivers, cities, and passes were meticulously detailed, with enemy and allied flags of distinct colors occupying every corner. Xiao stood with his back to me, leaning over the sand table. One hand braced against the edge of the desk while the other moved slowly across the terrain representing the northern frontier. His knuckles were clearly visible, his expression unusually focused. "The supply lines are still too long," he murmured to himself, his voice low and grave. "If winter snows seal the mountains and reinforcements fail to arrive, our soldiers on the front lines will suffer hunger and cold." I approached slowly, my gaze following the winding route traced by his finger. "That's precisely why we must prepare for the worst. By summer and autumn, we must transport winter supplies in batches, delivering them to the frontline military warehouses ahead of time." I chimed in. Xiao snapped his head around at the sound. His eyes lit up with unmasked delight upon seeing me. The slight gravity that had lingered moments before melted like ice, giving way to his usual, slightly mischievous smile. "Oh, I was beginning to think you planned to hide away in the south for the rest of your life, never to return." Xiao, the common folk hailed him as a youth general with glorious military achievements, while his imperial majesty praised him as a peerless talent, both brave and resourceful. But what they didn't know was that this man had a sharp tongue, having offended nearly every noble son and daughter in the capital, who all refused to associate with him. Back then, I was his only worthy opponent. Our bickering and quarrels were actually quite entertaining. Later, the prince of unplotted rebellion, plunging the northern frontier into chaos. I disfigured myself and fled south to Jiangnan, while he, having lost both parents, resolutely marched north, though separated by thousands of miles. We still exchanged letters now and then. I honed my business acumen to perfection in Jiangnan, while he, true to the Xiao lineage, became the youngest commander of the northern frontier in Great Liang. I heard that when he returned to the capital for his official report, the common folk lined the streets to welcome him. A truly glorious sight. Things were quite peaceful until last year, when a certain someone wrote begging me for urgent aid. Since then, silver has flowed out like water, leaving my pockets aching. That's why I'm here to collect what's owed. Xiaoyu fell silent upon hearing this, finally managing a few stammered thanks after a long pause. I waved him off. Thanks alone won't suffice. Noticing my flippant tone, he stepped closer, his smile tinged with something strange. Could it be? You want me to pledge myself to you? Get lost. My fist struck his soft armor, stinging for no reason. Seriously though, I do need to borrow a few people from you, some who can fight. Women. His Imperial Majesty wants me to take over the Ministry of Revenue, which will inevitably affect others' interests. I need a few guards who can serve close to me to feel at ease. And Qing Yao also needs a few people who can protect her at all times. Judging by today's events, that Wang Shian doesn't seem like the type to give up easily. Qing Yao is far too innocent, someone must watch over her for me at all times. That's simple enough. I happen to have a squad of female guards under my command, all seasoned veterans forged in the northern frontier. Tomorrow, I'll assign several of my most capable ones to you. I bowed with a smile, then I'm most grateful. Prince Xiao. Enough with the formalities. Fine. I wasn't planning to be polite either. I simply said the sky was growing dark and took my leave. Yet as soon as I stepped out of the tent, that irritating figure appeared again, like a persistent ghost. Wang Shian dared not enter the imperial garrison, so he paced restlessly outside. Seeing me emerge, he immediately jogged forward, pulling a brocade box from his robe. You Rong. This is the deed to my ancestral home in Jiangnan. He presented it with both hands, his eyes still holding a self-important depth of feeling. This estate was always meant for you. Trust me, my dealings with Qing, with the princess, are merely temporary expedient. Once my career flourishes, I'll provide you with a far better life. I watched his smug expression with a cold gaze, finding it utterly laughable. You think I'm sulking? I chuckled lightly. Wang Shian, you're far too full of yourself. Hearing this, he stepped forward urgently. Yurong, after all these years together, do you truly care nothing for our bond? I swear, from this day forward, you alone will occupy my heart. How dare you? I snapped, cutting him off. Is my name something you may utter so freely? He froze in place, his face turning ashen. I looked down at him from above. Who do you think you're speaking to? A common merchant's wife from Jiangnan? Open your eyes and see clearly, standing before you is Princess Huaying of the Great Liang dynasty. You, of all people, dare to covet this palace? I sneered. Could it be you're still drunk from yesterday's revelry in the Jade Forest Garden? Princess. Your Highness. His lips trembled, as if he wanted to say more. What a refined taste. Third place scholar Wang Xiaoyu had appeared at the camp gate without anyone noticing, arms crossed, leaning lazily against a pillar. Was he begging for the princess's mercy? He strolled over, coming to stand beside me. His gaze swept contemptuously over Wang Shian. Your taste during your time in Jiangnan, Your Highness, is truly unique. Wang Shian flushed crimson at the barb, yet dared not retort. Xiaoyu turned to me, a faint smile playing on his lips. Need me to clean that up for you? Not necessary, I replied coolly. It would soil your Highness's hands. Watching Wang Xian's utterly dejected expression, I added coldly, Wang Shian, remember your place. Dare to bother me again, And don't blame me for being harsh. With that, I turned and walked away decisively, not sparing him another glance. Behind me, Xiaoyu's voice carried a hint of amusement. Third-place scholar Wang. Shall I send someone to escort you back to your residence? Judging by your state, you'd be hard-pressed to walk steadily. Had I turned back then, I would surely have seen Wang Shian's distorted face and eyes brimming with resentment. Perhaps I should have heeded Xiaoyu's advice and dealt with him promptly. Then, what followed might never have happened. To welcome my return to the capital, my imperial brother specially arranged a banquet to greet me home, set for 3 days hence at the princess's residence. All officials of the third rank and above, along with noble families, were invited, a clear indication of its grandeur. When Aunt Fong handed me the guest list, my eyes immediately fell upon that name, Wang Shian. He actually has the nerve to show up. I snorted lightly, casually setting the list aside on the table. His Majesty said he wants certain people to witness firsthand what an abyss of difference truly looks like. Aunt Fong replied softly, recalling the events of the previous day. I silently shook my head. Find someone to keep an eye on him. See what he's been up to these past few days. No sooner had the words left my mouth than Qingyao came to find me. Little auntie, she said in her sweet voice. Look what I brought you, something delicious. She held up a food box, opening it as if presenting a treasure. Inside were exquisitely crafted osmanthus cakes. I picked up a piece, but my eyes drifted to her hairpin. A gold and jade hairpin adorned with tassels sparkled dazzlingly. Judging by its materials and craftsmanship, it didn't seem like a palace treasure. Noticing my gaze, Qingyao's cheeks flushed slightly. Did Wang Shian give you that? I asked bluntly. Her eyes darted away as she stammered. Auntie, he's actually quite good. You two probably had some misunderstandings before, which made you hostile toward him. But it's okay, with time. You'll understand. Misunderstandings? I had no idea what else Wang Shian had told Qingyao. I nearly choked on my own anger. Just as I was about to set the record straight, she tugged my arm and pouted. Oh, auntie, I'm not a child anymore. Trust me. I'll keep a close eye on him. Please stop picking on him. Okay? I swallowed my anger, gritted my teeth, and managed a single okay. Qingyao had already been brainwashed by Wang Shian. Continuing to oppose him would only risk damaging our aunt-niece bond. I believed there must be a way to make her see his true colors. 3 days passed swiftly. The princess's mansion hosted a banquet, its halls filled with guests. Standing beneath the eaves, I watched Qingyao chatting and laughing with several young ladies from prominent families. That gold and jade hairpin glinted painfully bright in the sunlight. Aunt Fong whispered her report. Wang Shian arrived early this morning. He's been pacing near the southeast pavilion in the garden for quite some time. Understood, I replied flatly. Soon after, the banquet commenced. After 3 rounds of wine, songs and dances enlivened the festivities, creating a lively atmosphere. I summoned Qingyao over, my voice laced with languor. Yao Yao, your auntie caught a chill. Could you fetch me a cloak? Watching her walk away, I rose slowly. All traces of intoxication vanished from my eyes. Have the female guards follow her from a distance, I instructed. When Qingyao reached the garden rockery alone, Wang Shian emerged as expected. How has your highness been lately? He bowed respectfully, gentle and courteous, as if the man who had lost his mind days ago wasn't him. Qingyao instinctively touched her hairpin, a blush spreading across her cheeks. Fine. All is well. Did you seek me out for a reason, young Master Wang? Wang Shian feigned hesitation. Your servant has words. I'm unsure if I should speak them. They concern Princess Huayang. Qingyao's curiosity was piqued. What's happened to my aunt? This isn't the place to discuss it, Wang Shian murmured, lowering his voice. Please follow me. He led Qingyao toward a more secluded bamboo grove. But just as he reached out to take her arm, two figures suddenly appeared. "How dare you!" A green-clad female guard seized Wang Shian's wrist, while another shielded Qingyao. I stepped slowly out from behind the bamboo grove, followed by several noblewomen who had come searching for Qingyao. "Wang Shian." My voice icy. "You have the audacity." Your servant was merely." His face drained of color, cold sweat pouring down his brow. Qingyao hid behind me in panic. "Little auntie." "He said he had secrets about you to tell me." I scoffed coldly. "Secrets? That he and I were once betrothed? Or that he broke off our engagement to curry favor with the princess?" The noblewomen present erupted in an uproar. "So this is the true nature of third-place scholar Wang. He broke off his engagement to Princess Huayang, only to pursue Princess Qingyao? Shameful! He disgraces all scholars under heaven." Wang Shian knelt with a thud. "Your Highness, I am innocent. It was Princess Huayang who—" "Enough!" Xiaoyu's voice cut through the crowd, stepping past the throng. His gaze sliced like a blade. "Are you implying, third-place scholar Wang, that the two princesses conspired to frame you?" Just then, Aunt Fong approached, holding a small box. Before the assembly, she declared, "Your Highness, this was found in Lord Wang's residence." Inside lay a thick stack of love letters, all imitating Qingyao's handwriting, along with several women's intimate accessories. Qingyao's eyes widened in disbelief. These weren't written by me." "Of course not." My gaze darkened. "Lord Wang intended to fabricate these love letters to ruin your reputation and force His Majesty to arrange a marriage." As his scheme unraveled, Wang Shian's face drained of color. Yet he stubbornly protested. "No. I didn't. It was her. She was jealous of my friendship with Qingyao and deliberately framed me." Smack! Before he could finish, I delivered a sharp slap across his face. "Frame me? You dare? You, a mere third-place scholar, have repeatedly harassed the princess. You truly don't know your place. I once thought your talent might serve you well in officialdom, but now I see that's not the case. Your heart is twisted. You'd never be an upright official. I shall report this to my brother the emperor immediately. Let him decide your fate." Xiaoyu promptly ordered his men to drag the man away. As Wang Shian was led off, his tear-filled eyes pleaded with Qingyao. "Qingyao, save me! Don't you love me? I'm your future prince consort." Seeing Qingyao hide behind me, ignoring him while glaring at me with fury. "Xia Yurong, you venomous woman. This is all your fault. Unable to have me, you seek to destroy me. You ruined me. Insolent. I am the imperial son-in-law. Who dares lay a hand on me?" Seeing Wang Shian had descended into madness, Xiaoyu decisively ordered his men to gag him. I addressed the crowd. "A mere clown. Pay him no mind. The banquet continues. The music and dance are in full swing. Let us all drink and revel on, and not return until we are thoroughly drunk." At these words, the crowd roared in unison. "Long live the princess! Long live! Long live!" Once the crowd dispersed, I took Qingyao's hand and returned to the main seat. Her small face was still pale. "See clearly now?" I asked softly. Qingyao bit her lip, tears glistening in her eyes. "Auntie, I never imagined he would. There's much more you haven't seen." My expression turned stern as I reached up and removed the jade hairpin from her hair. With a flick of my finger, a fine powder spilled out. "Do you know what this is?" Mixed with the powdered perfume on Wang Shian's body, it becomes a potent love potion when the time is right. Had he succeeded today, your reputation would have been ruined. The people Xiaoyu lent me are highly capable. Thanks to them, I learned of Wang Shian's secret, sorted schemes and prepared in advance, turning his own plot against him. Seeing Qingyao was deeply shaken, I stroked her head. Never mind. You've learned your lesson. Just don't trust others so easily in the future. Soon after, the imperial edict arrived. Wang Shian, the third-place scholar, is a vile character and has deceived the sovereign. His titles are hereby revoked, and he is banished 3,000 li from the capital, never to return. They say the day he left the city was overcast. The once glorious third-place scholar, shackled in heavy chains, shuffled step by step through the city gates amid the people's curses. In the princess's residence, Qingyao rested her head on my lap, her voice soft. Auntie, I know I was wrong. I've decided, from now on, I'll learn the ways of commerce from you. Then, just like you, I'll travel far and wide, see the vast world outside, and never speak of love again. Hearing this, my hand holding the teacup paused slightly. It seemed I'd been too harsh. Ah well, I'll guide her gently from now on. 2 days later, Xiao sent word that he would soon depart for the northern frontier and likely couldn't join me for wine and merriment anymore. Truthfully, a pang of disappointment stirred within me, yet it was swiftly overshadowed by busyness. The Ministry of Revenue's affairs were tangled and chaotic. It took considerable effort to untangle them. In doing so, I incurred the displeasure of many high-ranking officials and nobles. Fortunately, before Xiao departed, he left his female guards in my care. With my imperial brother backing me from behind the scenes, I felt emboldened to act decisively. Spring gave way to autumn, and before I knew it, 2 years had passed. During these 2 years, Qingyao truly began learning the ways of commerce from me. Naturally gifted and quick to learn, she progressed remarkably fast. Now she handles many matters independently, managing numerous affairs for me. Watching her grow steadily more composed and capable brings me great satisfaction. A few days later, my imperial brother suddenly summoned me to the palace. In the hall of mental cultivation, he handed me a report of victory from the northern frontier. Xiao had won another battle. This victory was decisive. The northern tribes won't dare invade for at least a decade. His Majesty's tone was cheerful, yet his gaze lingered on me with profound meaning. Xiao also submitted a memorial, stating that with the northern frontier now secure, all industries await revival. He earnestly requested that I dispatch a capable person to reopen the border markets, facilitate trade routes, and foster mutual benefit. He paused, then added, in the court, none possess this capability but you. Yet the northern frontier lacks the capital's splendor. If you are unwilling, your younger sister is willing to go. I rose to my feet and answered without hesitation, yet failed to notice the sly gleam in my brother's eyes. 7 days later, I departed the capital with light luggage and a small retinue. Qingyao, her eyes reddened, saw me off beyond the city gates. Clasping my hand, she lingered with deep reluctance. Auntie, rest assured, I'll serve His Majesty well. And you must write often. I nodded my promise, then urged Auntie Fong to care for her. Only then did our small party set out. The caravan swayed along for over a month. By the time we reached the north, deep winter had settled. I lifted the soft curtain and gazed out at the mountains blanketed in snow, a stark contrast to the landscapes of the south, yet strangely refreshing. Just then, a figure suddenly burst into view. Xiao galloped out of the snow on horseback, his crimson cloak fluttering in the wind, hooves clattering as they kicked up swirls of fine snow. Nearby, the cold wind swept the last withered leaf from a tree, sending it drifting down before my eyes. The wind stirred, and so did my heart. You've come. Yes, I've come. The end.